Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Nick Thompson. You may know me from Netflix Love is Blind, but on this podcast, we sit down with guests from all walks of life to hear their story, remove stigmas, and uncover what makes them tick. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Conversations with Nick Thompson. I'm your host, Nick Thompson. Today's episode is going to be an interesting one. I have a friend of mine, Kristy Edwards, on as our guest today. Why did I want to have Kristy Edwards on? Well, I've been thinking a lot lately about basically, of course, what's going on in the world, the simplicity of things that I have and things that are important to me from a physical object perspectives, how I spend my money, where I spend my money. At the time of this recording, we're like smack dab in the middle of the holidays. And I feel like this is the peak pivotal moment in the world for consumerism. Why is that? Well, because everybody's holiday shopping and we're buying things for ourselves and we're buying things for others. And the commercials and the advertising and everything is just everywhere you look, you see advertising, excessive amounts of consumerism going on. You go into a store, you see more products than any other point in the year. And that's all because it's the season of giving, right? It's the season to give gifts, to give experiences, to spend time with loved ones. And one of the interesting things that it got me thinking about is this is the season of giving where we're making purchases and buying presents for other people. But also during that time, we're asking for some of these things as well. All of this stuff that I have, how much of this stuff actually matters to me? How much of these things are in my closet? For example, like, do I really need to have all of these clothes? Do I really need to have a side that's summer and a side that's winter? You know, as I've gotten to know Kristy a little bit over the last few months, the way that she approaches life and then, of course, helps her clients, I thought was very interesting conversation to have. And we actually started having this on a phone call in which I was like, wait a minute, maybe we should actually talk about this on the podcast because I'm learning a lot. And I think that the audience would have a lot to learn. So Kristy has a business called Neatly Balanced. And what she does with her clients is she helps teach them how to declutter their life, and not just from a objects or material possession, but also how to just stay balanced in all of the things that are important. So she uses her experience of volunteering in Honduras, this experience where she realized how important it is to have connection and how important it is to do the things that matter to you, and how unimportant having excessive material goods are. And so her experience as a nanny in her 20s helped her see that, hey, you know, a lot of times kids have excessive toys that they don't need, or families have excessive items or clothes that they don't need. And her trip to Honduras helped her understand sort of a minimalist way of living can help give you a higher quality of life. Tying that with her love of giving back and her passion to help the homeless, her passion to make sure that her community less fortunate are being treated with dignity, and how all of these things tie together. Such a fascinating story, and she's such a fascinating and good individual. So I wanted to have her on here today so that we could talk about how she used her personal experiences to minimalize her life, and take a step back and outside of the consumerism, capitalism way that we're so used to living, and focus more on the things that matter to her, which are things like exercise and being healthy, cooking on a budget, traveling on a budget, and making sure that she appreciates the finer things in life as opposed to the objects or the material things that she can purchase. And I think the message of her taking that out to her clients is a beautiful message, and I think we all could probably declutter our lives a little bit. But the part that really drives her passion is her willingness and desire to help other people and to help her community. You know, I'm going to ask her about some of the ways that she's done that, and I'm going to ask her about her journey, because I think it's, while it might not be relatable in the sense that we've all gone through it, I think that there's some moments in her story that are extremely personal that will help all of us maybe think a little bit differently. So I was really happy with the way I had engaged with Kristy, and I thought her story was worth sharing. It's very touching. It's very moving. and the way that she's impacting her clients' lives and the way that she's impacting her local community and her approach to doing all that is something that I think we could all learn something from. So without further ado, I would love to have Kristy come in here now for this conversation. And I hope you all learn a little bit about not just her background, but a little bit about how living a more balanced life can help all of us, be better versions of ourselves and give back to our community. So let's get to it. Let's get to Kristy Edwards. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. So our guest today, Kristy Edwards, she's an entrepreneur with a passion for giving back to her community. She's the founder of Neatly Balanced, which is her very own home organization dedicated to helping others achieve balance and organization in every area of their life. So Kristy, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really cool what you're doing and how you're helping people, in their everyday life. And I'll give you a opportunity to sort of run down what you do and your passion for helping people sort of declutter their lives. But before doing that, I like to ask a couple small talk questions of the day to just break the ice and give people a chance to know maybe some things they may not know about you. So first one I have for you is, when you were a child, what was your favorite hobby or activity?
Playing with my sister, for sure. I have a younger sister who's 4 years younger, and we were very imaginative and we're always playing pretend. So depending on, our age range, a lot of times we would set up like little cash registers and pretend phones that we had, or old phones of my parents, and we would play Office. And it was funny because it would always be like 20th Century Fox Studios, and we would be answering the phones and have pretend names. And yeah, we always were making up stuff to play together. So that was probably the biggest hobby.
That's really cool. How did you come up with the Fox Studios?
Honestly, I think it was from watching movies. I was a product of the 80s. So I grew up, long story short, my dad traveled a lot for his job, and we had a conversion van that had like a TV and a VCR in it. And so we would, back in the day, before we would take a trip, our parents would take us to Blockbuster and let us pick out a couple like of the family movies to watch while we traveled. And I just think it was from watching the credits roll by back in the day. Like, that was the only studio.
Yeah, that was the biggest one.
I would always see 20th Century Fox Studios, and that's what we adapted as our own business.
That's awesome. You know what's so funny is I used to love wandering around the video store finding something to watch.
I did too.
It is such a lot. There's still a handful of family videos around here if you really look for them.
Yeah.
But what are they even renting?
I know.
You can get everything right from your Apple TV, your Amazon Prime Stick, your Google TV.
Yeah, I know. And I remember even in college, I was one of the only people that I knew that had, at least the first couple years of college, that had a VCR in my dorm room. And we had a little local video store. And I can remember going and getting videos, to watch in my room. And it was fun, I know it's kind of a lost art. I miss video stores.
I know, me too. I used to go every weekend when we were with my dad. My parents were divorced. We would go, and it was local. It was called Thumbs Up Video. And we would go there, and it was just it was like an event. It'd be so busy. You'd get popcorn and candy. Yeah. I miss that. I miss that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sticking with the childhood, what'd you want to be when you grew up? Because if I imagined, it might be a little different than what you ended up doing.
Yeah, it was funny. As a little kid, I always said I wanted to grow up to be a secretary because that was what my sister and I always played. And so when I was, 6, 7, 8 years old, my parents would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "I'm going to be a secretary, and I'm going to answer phones and type." And, that's what I wanted to do. I thought that was just the pinnacle. And then when I was a little older, I wanted to be a singer, actually. When I started college, I went to college to major in vocal performance. I went through the whole audition process, had to turn in all kinds of stuff from being in chorus in high school. That's what I initially went to college to do. And then I changed my major to adolescence and abnormal psychology, sort of like a dual major.
Wow. I actually didn't know that. So just, you and I met over Instagram. So it's not like we have this super long budding friendship, but I didn't realize that one, like you had that vocal talent because you're not getting into a college to sing if you don't have some sort of talent. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool. When did you, when you got into college or whatever, when did you realize that wasn't going to be your path?
Honestly, it was pretty quick. I did not mesh well with with the director over the entire musical department.
Mm,
We just constantly butted heads, and I was like, I can't do this for 4 years. This is not going to work. So
yeah.
I think it was towards the end of my first semester. Honestly, I think I made it almost one whole semester, and I was like, I'm in tears every day. I can't do this. So
Oh
I went and
gosh.
met with my advisor, and she's like, "What are you interested in?" I was like, "I want to work with kids." I knew I always wanted to work with kids. So by process of elimination, we did psychology. And my dad was a police officer, and I was always really interested in crime. And so I thought I wanted to be a forensic pathologist. So I chose abnormal psychology. But then I wanted to work with kids. So I did the adolescent part of it as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's such a um, unique thing to have someone walk you through that, like while you're in college too. Because I feel like so
Yes.
many people, just myself included, like you just go through college and you're like, oh, all right, I guess I'll do this. And sometimes it has
Yeah.
something to do with your major and you luck out, or it has something to do with your major and you hate it when you get into the real
Right.
world, or you know find a different path with all of it. So I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool that you were able to just sort of do that in
Well, and my
college.
parents were also, I mean, they were very encouraging, but they also said, what do you want to do after school? And if your goal is not to be, this famous singer,
Hmm.
what else are you going to use this major for? And they were sort of practical while still being encouraging. They were sort of practical,
Right.
like you can sing and not have a degree, but you can't really do anything else without
Hmm.
having some sort of formal education if it's like a niche, type job. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they were very encouraging of me switching my major.
Yeah. I had I wanted to be a filmmaker and I was going to go to film school.
Yeah.
And my parents were the same. They were like encouraging of, well, I think this is good and you should pursue this and you clearly like have talent in it.
Hmm.
And at the same time, like that is the most like exclusive group
Right.
of people to get into. So it was always like, well, what do I fall back on if that doesn't work out? So it's nice to have the encouraging parents that also level
Yes.
set you a little bit.
Yes.
So then I have to ask this one here: who was your inspiration, or who did you love when you were singing in your teenage years?
Well, as a really small child, my parents were actually really good, close family friends with several singers in the Southern
Mm.
gospel music world. My mom actually she stayed home with my sister and me and homeschooled us because my dad traveled so much when I was younger. And so on the side, she tutored and she also taught voice lessons. And so she actually worked with a couple different people in the music industry that were just, again, more like Southern gospel world. So growing up, that was all of my influence. I mean,
Oh wow.
unless you're in that world, you probably wouldn't recognize names, but we were really good friends with the Nealons and Karen Peck in New River and the Roops and the Hayes family and people that were just kind of local Southern gospel names, um, that have since gone on to become huge names in that world. And then, as I got older, I absolutely loved Jessica Simpson. She is Lachey, one of my favorite singers. Um, which is funny because I also love Nick Lachey.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a, I guess, conflict of interest nowadays. But yeah, I love Carrie Underwood. I love Faith Hill. Love Celine Dion. I love the vocal powerhouses. So
Right.
the people that
Right.
have just these amazing, vocal skills is kind of who I look to.
I love that. I just I like all of those artists. I'm not a big country person, but like when it
Yeah.
gets more poppy, then I can get on
Yeah.
board with it. So like I like Faith Hill doing the Sunday Night Football every night and
Amazing.
taking that. Yeah. Wait, did
I
I
mean,
say Faith Hill or Carrie Underwood? Because it was
well,
Faith Hill and now it's
Faith Hill used
yeah,
to
now
do
it's
it.
Carrie
Now
Underwood.
Carrie does it. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
it.
both of them. Exactly,
Yeah.
both of them. So very cool. So what was your when you were in your teens or whatever, what were some of your hobbies that would maybe surprise people, or just one of them even?
Well, I mean, I think if you don't really know me or don't know my background, I babysat and I was a nanny.
Hmm.
So it was a hobby, but it was also my job because I was homeschooled. kindergarten through 11th grade. So I only went to public school my senior year of high school. I started as a mother's helper when I was 10 years old, babysitting. I mean, I come from a really small town. So when I say 10, nowadays people are like, what? And I'm like, listen, this was 1990s, like where it was much safer than today's world. But
Yeah.
yeah, I started out as a mother's helper when I was 10, and I would go to other families who also homeschooled and take care of like the toddlers or babies or little kids while the mom was at home, but just in a different part of the house teaching the older kids. So by the time I was 13, I had 3 years of experience under my belt, and I started
Wow.
babysitting by myself. So
Yeah.
I did that, all the way up to now, really. I mean, I babysat even when I was in college. I nannied for the president of my college. I nannied for the
Oh,
dean of
wow.
students for one entire summer and lived with them. Um, and then after college, I actually moved here to Nashville because I got a job as a tour nanny in the music industry. So I traveled for almost 10 years in the music industry. But I mean,
Who
as
is?
far as other hobbies, I also love riding horses. I love traveling. I love reading. I love like thrill seeking. Like I've been bungee jumping, and I love
Oof.
what do you call it? Like the zip lines, things like that. So
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. I'm too risk adverse when it comes to like the physical activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
thought of
gotcha.
like bungee jumping, I would almost just rather like not survive than to actually bungee. I know that's
Well,
probably a controversial. It's just terrifying to me. I don't.
yeah.
I wish it wasn't.
I was talking to somebody just the other day, and I said I've bungee jumped several times, but after the first time, it's sort of just like, okay, yeah, bye. Like, I mean,
Okay.
the first time you have no idea what to expect, so it's terrifying and exhilarating. But after the first time, you know that you're gonna bounce up and down, and you're gonna land. I mean, so the first time I did it, it was terrifying, and after that, it was just
Oh,
like, okay, bye. I just like fell
yeah, it's
off the
almost like the
wall.
thrill is. Yeah. Okay. See ya. It's
Yeah,
almost like the thrill is changed or gone in a
yeah,
sense. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So you're a pescatarian,
I
correct?
am.
Is that right? So
Yeah.
what's your favorite fish meal?
Favorite fish for sure would be salmon. And probably mahi is like a Thai. I eat a lot
Okay.
of mahi and I'll eat a lot of salmon. When I'm traveling at the beach, especially, I live off of grouper. Grouper is probably honestly my favorite. It's just hard to find if you're not on the coast.
Mm,
So sort of, every day around here in Nashville, it's pretty much mahi and salmon. But when I can get grouper, it's definitely grouper.
ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Nashville? Or what would you say to someone who wants to come to Nashville as something they need to experience?
It's so different. When I moved here in 2005, it was just this sort of quintessential belt buckle, cowboy boots, everybody sings or likes country music. It was kind of relatively, unknown unless you were in the music industry. It was a smaller, big town. And now I feel like it's I mean, it's almost too big, which is why I now
Mm.
live in the suburbs. It's expanded. I mean, in terms of what it has to offer, it's so much better because there's something for everybody here. If you hate country music, you can literally come here and not really listen to it at all if you don't want to.
Oh,
If you
okay.
like sports, we have, the Predators hockey, we have the Titans football, we have several colleges around the area. So, there's something for everybody. There's a lot of, canoeing and outdoor adventures. There's music, there's movies. We have T-Pack, which is sort of like our version of Broadway, which has, all these different shows that come through. So, yeah, there's a little bit of something for everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know I've said this to you, but I haven't been to Nashville in so long. I feel like it's changed so much since I've
Yes.
been there that I need to get back. Plus,
Yeah. I think you said
I've,
you were here in '05, right? That was when I moved here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was around '05 because it was for I was the editor in chief of my college newspaper, and we had a
Yeah.
event, like one of those summits and awards and stuff like that. So that's when I was out. That was when I was out there. Yeah, God, I
Well,
can't believe
yeah,
it's
it's
been
totally
that
different. You
long.
gotta come back for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long. Holy cow.
I know.
Um, so my last small talk question here for you.
Yeah.
When did you learn that you wanted to start giving back to your community? Like, what was your first volunteer experience?
I volunteered at the library and I volunteered teaching gymnastics to little like 3 and 4 year olds when I was in high school. And then that
Hmm.
ended up turning into a job I got paid for, but it started out as volunteering. Um, but that was just sort of, when you're a teenager, it's like, yeah, this is going to look good on a college transcript. Like, I didn't really, I
Right.
don't think realize what I was doing, or didn't at least like penetrate. But now, I would say when I knew this is what I wanted to do was probably in 2011. And that was kind of when everything changed for me. My dad passed away in 2010 from cancer, and it was a very quick
Oh, I'm sorry.
um, turnaround. He found out in January of 2010 he had cancer, and he died in May. So it was extremely quick. And then, yeah, it was probably 2011 when I took a missions trip with my mom and sister, and I just came home a completely different person, and I've never been the same since.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I think that having that sort of tragic thing happen to you at way too soon,
Yeah.
obviously, and then kind of being in this state of who am I going to be, and
Mhm.
what's my life going to look like now, probably put your mind in a place to be much more open to what the
Yes,
world was telling you, I would
for
say.
sure.
Yeah.
100%.
So that why don't you tell us, and maybe you start with that trip. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey and how you became passionate about helping other people and the ways that you help other people.
Yeah. Well, even when I was nannying before that missions trip, um, the people that I would nanny for, I just sort of a couple times a year would go through the kids' clothes and sort of edit, like go through everything that doesn't fit them and make a list and be like, hey, they need 4 pairs of pants, they need 2 pairs of shorts, and just sort of help the different families I nannied for kind of keep up with what their kids were growing out of and needed more of and whatever. And I would say, hey, I'll just take everything they don't, wear anymore to Goodwill and donate it. I'd love to, help those less fortunate. It was always sort of in the back of my mind.
Mhm.
And so I did that for years. And then in 2011, long story short, my mom's church took a missions trip to Honduras, to a remote village in Honduras. And they were planning the trip, and we found out someone in the congregation of her church had donated enough money to build this chapel, but he was a good friend of my dad's, and he had asked that the chapel be named in memory of my dad and like dedicated to him.
Mhm.
Well, when we found out about that, originally we had no plans to go on the trip. And when we found out about it, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to be there. So we planned and went on the trip as well. Well, to say that getting there was quite the experience is such an understatement. We so first of all, none of us had ever been to Honduras. So we
Mhm.
flew into I think it was San Pedro Sula, I think, or maybe we flew into Tegucigalpa. Still can't pronounce the name of
Totally understand.
or something like that. We flew into there, and it was this. There was no runway. Like, we were looking out the window because they were like, "Okay, we're coming in for landing," and there was no runway. And I'm like, "Where exactly are we landing?"
Oh my
And we just
gosh.
landed on this like sort of like grass that had turned into dirt. I mean, it was nothing. And we got off the plane and got onto a school bus, like bright orange school bus with no air conditioning.
Of
And this was
course.
in August, I think. I think it was August or September. So it was still very hot. And we took a 4.5, 5 hour bus ride to San Pedro Sula, where we got dropped off and spent the first night in this almost like church camp type dorms. It was like all the
Mhm.
guys in one dorm, all the women in the other dorm, and it was like bunk beds. And so it was, it looked like it's sort of a poverty stricken area. So we all
Right.
assumed that's where we were going to be working for the next week. So we all went to bed and we're like, this isn't so bad. Like, we can do this.
Right.
We got up the next day, and after having breakfast, they were like, we're going to get picked up to go to the village. And so we're all like, okay, cool. Like, whatever,
Mhm.
Well, like this cattle
And
truck,
how old were you at this point? Like you were in,
2011. So I would have
you
been,
were an adult.
yeah, I was
Yeah, yeah.
27,
Yeah,
28.
okay.
Yeah. Um, so we get this cattle truck pulls up, and we were like, I mean, there's maybe 15 or 20 of us, and they're like, okay, hop in. And we were like, hop in where? And they're like, in the back. We were like, what? So we have all this, this stuff for the week, like suitcases of
Oh my gosh.
uninflated soccer balls and coolers of water because there was no pure drinking water. So we had to bring our own, and food for the week. And we piled into the back of this cattle truck, and we're standing up, holding on to the back of the truck. And we went for like a 45-minute drive through this dirt road filled with potholes.
Mm.
And the truck just stopped, and the guy's like, okay, have a good day. And we were like, okay, where do we go? And he's like, just
Oh
down the
my
mountain. We
gosh.
were like, down the mountain. And
No big deal. Just down the
right, no
mountain.
big deal, with suitcases and all of our, gear for the week. So we literally scaled the side of a mountain, and I mean like sidestepped, shuffled, where if you sneezed, you were going to fall into a ravine and never be
Oh
seen
my
again. My
gosh.
mom was like, "You're gonna bury me here. I'm never gonna get out of this place." And so we finally get to the village, and we just meet the sweetest people, and we slept in their home, which had no roof,
Oh wow.
and it was open air. We had sleeping bags that we had brought and pillows, and there were no showers. There was an outhouse, so there was no plumbing, no running water, no nothing. And we lived there for a week. And after the first couple hours, this is before smartphones, but I had a cell phone. So you had to
Right.
do like the hit 7 4 times to get a T type thing. It wasn't
Oh
a
wow.
smartphone,
But
but
you actually had service.
no, that's what I meant. So I was we all had cell phones, but we got there and no, we had no service. And so
Oh,
the first
yeah,
couple of
okay.
hours, I'm like, what are we supposed to do? I can't text anybody. I can't call anybody. But after the first couple hours, it just amazed me at how I didn't think about the TV shows I was missing or the people whose text messages I wasn't getting or phone calls I was missing. We just completely immersed ourselves in this culture and with these people that we just very quickly fell in love with.
Hmm.
And the men would bring down cement that they hand poured and hand mixed to build this chapel from scratch. I mean, of course, there were no machines or anything to build this
Right.
chapel. It was all done by hand. And the women, we would put on like a little vacation Bible school for the local kids, and they would come barefoot in oversized t-shirts, no shorts or pants. And we would just make them pipe cleaner and coffee filter flowers. And we blew up the soccer balls and would play soccer with them. And
Right.
they were just the happiest people I'd ever seen in my life. And I remembered, on the last night when the chapel was built, we had like a little dedication service for my dad, and we, through a translator, explained to the people who he was and what he meant
Hmm.
to us. And the last night, all these little kids just were running up to all of us, hugging us with their little pipe cleaner flowers in their hands. And I just looked at my mom and I'm like, these kids I nanny back in Nashville have entire rooms of toys. They have playrooms. They have swing sets out in their backyard they don't even play on. They have, little battery operated cars they drive. I mean, they just have so much. And I'm like, we have so many
Hmm.
clothes and these little kids had nothing. And it just really, like, it hit me. Well, then we went to bed. The next morning we woke up and we climbed back up the mountain, got back in the cattle truck and got
How long
driven.
were you there for?
We went on a mission trip to build this chapel.
Yeah, how long were you there for?
Oh, how
Was it
long? A
like a...
week. We were there for
Oh,
5 days.
okay. I thought you had
Yeah.
said a week. I just wanted to...
Yeah, so 5 days.
So you're just completely disconnected and completely
Completely.
integrated with this village,
Yeah.
and not only not only disconnecting from you, but like almost connecting in real life with all of them in
Yeah.
this completely simplified way of living, where
Completely.
it's as simple as making a flower or something with a coffee filter
Yeah.
is the coolest toy maybe or coolest craft they've ever done.
Well, and we ate eggs, rice, beans, and plantains 3 meals a day for 5 days. It was all they had. And they were serving
Yeah.
us the food that they would have eaten. And many times they either weren't eating at all or they were eating the leftovers because they wanted to make sure we, as their guest,
Oh my
ate.
gosh.
And so all of us are sort of like, oh, black beans again, because we're
Yeah.
just used to American life where we just run and get whatever we want. And I'm like, that's all these people have. And so it just, again, it was not lost on me.
Hmm.
And then the day we left, we went back to the market and they were like, okay, you have an hour to walk around if you want to get souvenirs or anything to take home. And so my mom and sister and I were walking around. We walked into this bakery, and there was only one woman in the bakery, the owner, and she was holding a baby. Well, as a
Hmm.
nanny, I immediately was like playing peekaboo and waving and talking to the baby.
Right.
And so through our translator, I said, "Can you ask her if I can hold the baby? Like, I love babies. I want to hold the baby."
Right.
So the translator did. The woman immediately started crying, and I'm like, I just wanted to hold the baby. It's not a big deal. Like, it's fine. Like,
Right.
I didn't mean to make her cry. And she hands me the baby, and then she turns around and she walks like out the back door. And I was like, what's going on? And I looked at the translator and I said, what happened? Is she mad at me? Like, did I upset her? Like, what happened? And he said, no, she realizes you're an American and that you can give her baby a better life. So she's giving you her baby. And I said,
Whoa.
what do you mean she's giving me her baby? And he's like, she wants you to take the baby back to America. And
Oh
I
my gosh.
completely just, I mean, I was wrecked. I started sobbing. And I'm like, I can't take this lady's baby. I mean, I don't even have kids of my own, but as a
Right.
nanny, I was like, I can't imagine if anything happened to any of these kids I help take care of, and they're not even mine. I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine what this woman is going through right now, thinking that because I'm American, she's just going to give a complete stranger her
I
child.
was gonna say, and you're a complete stranger. It's
Yeah.
not like, I mean, you were there a week, but
Yeah.
it's not like you're able to share this amazing experience and like you're trying to sell yourself as a
Right.
potential, suitor to take care of her baby. Like, how awful must
Yeah.
her life be, or her fear for her child, if she's willing to just hand it off to a stranger just on the
Yeah.
basis of, being American?
Well, and the thing was, I probably walked around that market with the baby for another 30, 40 minutes and was just constantly like right, left, up, down, like looking for this mother. And
So you couldn't find her.
she never once
Oh
came to find me. She never once was following me.
my
I mean,
gosh.
I literally, like, I held that baby and I was crying. I was praying over her. I was talking to my mom. My mom's crying. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And so when it was time for us to leave, I walked back to the bakery and the mother was there at the bakery. And I gave her the baby back, and I said, what's her name? And it's best. I mean, listen, I took 4 years of Spanish and I still can barely speak any of it.
Yeah,
So
I did too.
through very broken Spanish, I tried to tell her, I prayed over your baby. I love her, but I can't take her.
Hmm.
Um, and then I remember I walked out. I bought a little like friendship bracelet that she had made, and I had her help tie it onto my wrist. And I walked back to the school bus. I got on. I went to the very back row, curled up in the fetal position, and I swear I cried for the next 5 hours all the way back to the airport. And when we got to the airport, like everybody left me alone because they knew I was like pretty much
Hmm.
inconsolable. And we got to the airport, and I just looked at my mom, and it just like with the flip of a switch, almost like it just turned to anger. And I said, "This is nuts. Like this makes me angry. I am so mad that we live in a country where we're so spoiled and we have so much of everything that this woman was going to give me her child because she thought the baby, the little girl, would have a better life with a complete stranger than."
And within a minute, like, how long did you guys interact before she handed it
Yeah, like
over?
literally a minute. And so I said, something's got to give. Like, this is the end of the road for me. Something's got to change. I may not be able to change the world, but I'm going to change what I can of it.
Hmm.
And I was reminded of like a story that my grandfather told me when I was a kid about this little boy walking down the beach and he was picking up starfish and throwing them into the ocean. And
Right.
this grumpy old man walked by and was like, "You're never going to save them all." And the little boy picked up a starfish and threw it. And he was like, "Well, I saved that one." And
Exactly right.
that has become my mantra. And I have everybody that I talk to about this, I tell the story to. And I'm like, listen, I don't know how to fix, all the other problems in the world, but if I can take things that you're no longer wearing or using or playing with and get it into the hands of somebody who desperately needs it and has nothing, then I'm changing that person's life. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm called to help. So I'm going to help as
Yeah.
best as, yeah.
I had no idea. I know we talked a lot a couple weeks ago, but I
Yeah.
had no idea. That story is like, I have goosebumps
Yeah.
because it's just
I
like
know.
not what I was expecting at
Yeah.
all, and in a good way. And I can't imagine. I've had some experiences that are not even remotely to that level of emotion and
Yeah.
connection to someone that you don't even know. But hearing that story, it's like, just how does everything just not change for you? Which it
Yeah.
did. I can't imagine. And I think too, like, one of the things that happens to us really in our country, which is so big, like,
Yeah.
our country is massive compared to so many other
Oh,
countries,
yeah, for sure.
especially with the Western style of living, right? Like, if you go into Europe, you're not going to find a country, I don't think, this big. I don't want to be
Right.
wrong about that, but the other
Really?
large countries, yeah, a lot of other large countries, they don't have the same standard of living that we have,
Right.
the same lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I feel like more people need to experience what's going on in the rest of the world, or at least,
Yeah.
as much as they can, to really have that sort of internal awakening to say, hey, you know what, I think I'm meant to do something bigger. And I do have to say too, like sometimes I enter into a little bit of nihilism on, you know, there's just too many problems. There's just too
Right.
many homeless people. There's just too many things going on to that anything I do is ever going to really make a difference.
Yeah.
But it's a mindset set shift, which you've done and I work to do, where it's like, I may not be able to help everybody, but maybe I can help someone.
Right.
And so, you know, I try to take that approach too. And you're clearly doing it a lot better than I am. But, you know, it is like if you can, you know, take a moment and impact someone's life, like,
Yeah.
why not take that? And so
Well,
that's how
right.
you, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and my thing is, I mean, when I tell that story, so many of my clients or people that I share the story with immediately sort of feel guilty. And they're like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I have so much. And I was like, listen, regardless of what the topic is in the world and what you're talking about, you only know what you know. Like, I can't blame you for not thinking about giving back to the homeless or to the different organizations I work with because you didn't know this story. You didn't know about it. The people that I get angry with and the situations that I get upset by is once I've told this story and your life doesn't change. Like, you know, not you, but you know what I mean? Like, in
Yeah, yeah.
general, when I tell the story and people walk away and aren't changed by it, like, then I sometimes have to sort of check myself and be like, you can't get angry. It's their life. It's their choice. You know, it's their
Hmm.
choice. To quote the great philosopher Ted Lasso, I try to stay curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that it's hard, but
yeah,
you want to think like, I honestly think I genuinely believe people are good, but I think sometimes ignorance is bliss.
hmm,
And if you have the stuff to distract you,
yeah,
or you have the free time to partake in like your hobbies or whatever it is, like
hmm,
it's easier to detach from some of this stuff mentally because it is heavy. Like I
yeah,
can't the feeling you must have had when they were like when the translator said she gave you her baby.
oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. But it is just it's such a moving story. But I feel for people in a sense where they have to detach from it because they can't like be in touch with that in their
right,
own emotions.
yeah. I mean, it is a lot for sure.
Yeah. So then you came back a changed young woman who
Yeah,
was almost you know, I don't even know. Your life was changed. Let's just say
yeah,
that your life was completely
sure.
changed. What happened when you got back? You know, what changes did you make?
Yeah, first and foremost, I was still nannying at that time, and I went to the parents. I'm trying to remember. I think I was nannying for like three different families, sort of like part
Hmm.
time. Um, and I went to all the parents, and I said, for your kid's birthday and for your kid's Christmas gift from me, instead of buying them something, I would like to do like an experience. And so the kids all ended up calling it a Kristy date. And it was where I would take the kid one on one and I said, you can pick any two things you want to do, just you and me. We're going to go do something. You're not going to have anything to unwrap and open or play with, but we're going to go do something. And it can be anything you want. So, like some kids would say, I want to go to the zoo or I want to go, you know, like roller skate or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but I tried to take that time, that hour or 2 hours that I had with the kid, and, you know, break it down into elementary terms, but talk to
Right.
the kids about, you know, like, you're so blessed and you have so many toys. And there are sometimes kids right here in Nashville that don't have any toys. And maybe, you know, you're four, maybe you could pick out four books and maybe you could pick out four toys that you aren't playing with or reading anymore. And we could give it to kids that don't have anything.
Hmm.
And what I found was every single kid without fail was like, what do you mean there are kids that don't have any books or there are kids that have
Yeah.
clothes? What do you mean? And I was like, yeah, like there, and I, you know, I would tell them again a very innocent version of the story when I was in Honduras. And I'm like, yeah, we were giving these kids coffee filters and they were making flowers out of them. They don't have
Right.
47 stuffed animals and baby dolls like you have, you know, and
Yeah.
it just, I try to do my part and I try to, you know, create that sense of giving back and being happy and thankful for what you have, not constantly being like, I want this, I want that. Can I have more of
Hmm.
this? Can I have more of that? You know, they're not my kids to raise, but I tried to instill that in
You can
them. And every single
influence.
parent was like, oh my God, the last thing they need is more toys. Please do that. That's way better. So,
Yeah, you actually just inspired me because I was with my nephew at the zoo over the weekend and my
yeah,
sisters, and I'm not going to say he's spoiled. He's definitely not spoiled, but he wants stuff. He's 6 years
sure.
old. He's almost 7. He wants stuff. He sees, anything you can buy, and he wants it,
Yeah.
whether he actually wants it or not. And
No,
I think
really.
for Christmas I think for the holidays and his birthday, I'm gonna give him an experience instead of maybe another toy, even though I
Yeah.
already promised him a toy. but we'll get that figured out. But
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
think
a,
that's great.
a beautiful way to look at it. So I think you're impacting the kids you nanny for now. How did you turn this into something bigger?
Well, again, I was the people that I was nannying for back in 2011. I would take all their clothes and stuff and take them to Goodwill, and I try to be very careful what I say because I'm not here to bash what any other corporation or company or organization
Hmm.
does. We're all trying to help in our own way. But I kept finding I would go to there's a million different Goodwill drop off locations even just here in Nashville, and I was finding everyone I was going to, they were just like, dump it over there, and like there was no greeting. There was no, hi, thank you so much. It was like they didn't even want to get up out of their chair. They were pointing me over to some big bin. And
Hmm.
the same bin was overflowing with lamps that had, books on top of them. And I'm like, are these even working? Are these broken now? And they just didn't seem to care. And there was not really any feeling of appreciation for the things I was taking. And I just sort of started getting a little bit frustrated. And I
Can
said,
I ask? Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you. So this was the clothes, toys, stuff
Yeah,
from the houses of the families you nannied for.
right.
Okay, I just wanted to clear. Okay,
Yeah, this
yes,
is back in
continue.
2011, 2012, right after
Cool.
the first couple years, right after taking the mission trip. And I started saying, there's got to be other places. I mean, I know there's more people than just Goodwill where you can help. And so I just started researching and looking into community resource centers and faith-based, because I'm a Christian, so that was important to me. I was like, where are the faith-based organizations that are helping people and
Hmm.
giving back? And I found they were everywhere. I just didn't know about them. And so I started going in some of the places and actually volunteering. Other places I was talking to the person who was in charge saying, what do you do? How exactly does this work? How do you help people? What do you give them? What do they have to do in return? And just started kind of getting information because it's important to me that I align myself with places who are doing what they say they're doing and putting their money where their
Hmm.
mouth is, not just, not really in touch with the world. And over the past 11, I guess 11 years now, um, I have partnered with almost a dozen different places here in greater Nashville that help. And I work with everybody from homeless missions for men to crisis pregnancy centers,
Hmm.
to organizations that bring in inner city youth in high school whose parents can't really afford clothes and
Right.
shoes and just essentials, and food pantries. I mean, I tell people I can literally take anything out of your house that you don't want as long as it's in working condition and not broken. It can be pads of notepaper, it can be empty bottles of shower gel and shampoo, it can be used makeup, it can be toys and books and home decor, sheets and towels, like all of it.
Hmm.
Um, and there's even a mobile shower unit where they go to the homeless communities and they go different places every day, and it's a mobile shower unit so the homeless can actually go into this almost like a trailer kind of thing
Hmm.
and shower and wash their hair. And there's barbers that come that will shave them or give them a haircut. And there are people that'll come in and do their hair and makeup so that at least for the day they feel clean
Yeah.
and pretty. So
Well, and that was the story that you told me that like I,
yeah,
I really connected with because like one of my personal passions is doing something for the homeless crisis we
yeah,
have
I love that.
and and giving them dignity when
Yes.
really like society's kind of stripped it away from them and I understand like some homeless people are mentally ill or have challenges with drug addiction and all that stuff. So like I get it, but I don't like the way society sort of acts like they're not there. And
Right.
I feel like that contributes to them not having the dignity of a shower or a shave or
Yeah.
makeup or any of these things that we just take for granted. I mean, I woke up today, I took a shower, I didn't really think anything of it. I used my homemade DIY body
Yeah.
wash and of all that stuff. Like I didn't think anything of it. But then to
Right.
think like that little bit of shampoo that you might have in a bottle right now could actually give a homeless person a shower
Yeah.
or a clean head of hair. Like that's it's such a little thing that we just take for granted. And thanks to you and what you're doing, it's something that you're actually contributing to helping people.
Yeah. Well, it's even just retraining your brain and retraining how you think. Because most of us, when we get to, to the end of something that we don't, that we've used, maybe like it's almost empty bottle of shampoo, or maybe women, we buy makeup and realize after 2 uses, it doesn't really work with our skin tone. Most
Mm.
all of us tend to just throw those things out. And I'm trying to get people to realize, no, you can put it in a box or a bag and call me, because I do that as well. I mean, I go into people's homes and I do actually organize and try to focus on purging and making their life simpler, and putting everything where it goes and putting it in its place and things like that. But I do also do what I call porch pickups. So when
Hmm.
my clients have already hired me to come in and organize, after that, they can then call me at any time and say, hey, I found more stuff, or hey, I've gone through a closet myself. You taught me how to do it. So I did it. So now I have another box or bag of donations, and I go by and pick it
Hmm.
up and I sort through it and separate it and take it where it needs to go. Um, so, it's just getting yourself to think differently instead of throwing so much away. It's helping those who don't have the means to buy what they need.
Yeah, so this is the cool thing about what you do, and I'll let you talk about your business, neatly balanced too. But so why don't you tell people what you do?
Yeah.
So I know you help people declutter their lives is the one sentence summary. But why don't you tell people what you do? And I think the porch pickups is really cool too. But overall,
Yeah.
like, what do you do with your organization?
Yeah. So when I decided to take this kind of as my new career, in 2020, coincidentally, nobody had any idea COVID was coming. I launched this. I built the website entirely myself. I had some help with my cousin who does this for a living. So I had a couple calls where I was like,
Mm.
hey, what am I doing? This is not working. And he helped. But I mean, I did the majority of the work myself and launched it the week before COVID at least came to it. I think it was already maybe in spots across the country, but in Nashville, it
Hmm.
had not really arrived yet. And I launched my company and did this whole Facebook announcement and Instagram announcement. And then it was like, hey, everything's shutting down because the COVID is here. And I was like, well, that was a great idea. That's never going to go anywhere because now nobody's leaving their home.
Right.
And so I tell people, even to this day, I have never spent a dime on advertising. It's all been word of mouth and happy clients who have posted to Instagram and told their neighbors and told their friends about me. And I consistently book 3 to 4, sometimes even longer, weeks out because I stay busy every day, all day.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I built this website and I talked to a lady who helps me sort of with PR and just kind of gave me like my sea legs, I guess, so to speak. And she said, you know, you need to niche down. You need to figure out what your focus is. And I said, well, I can't do that because my problem is I've gone to all of my friends who most are all married and have kids. And I said, hey, what do you do in a day? Where do you find where you're going to get your kids' clothes? Where do you find your recipes? Where do you find your workout routines? What does your life consist of? And every single one of them without fail was like, oh, I go to this book for this. I go to this Facebook
Mhm.
account for this. I go to this Instagram page or website for this. And I was like, so you spend half your day going to 40 different things to find, and they
Sources.
were like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, what if I just had one place where you could come and see everything? And they were like, I would pay an ungodly amount of money to do
Right.
that. So I said, well, look, I have no kids. My husband and I, we love to travel. Our passion is traveling and seeing the world and doing so on a budget. And I love organizing. I love living more minimally. I'm also, a pescatarian. It's very important to me to live a healthy life. I work out almost every day. So
Hmm.
why not incorporate all that into the website? So the website is sort of my launching pad, I guess. And I have recipes on there that are, for the most part, really healthy, easy to make in 30 minutes or less, inexpensive, and they can feed a family. Um, I have exercises I post to Instagram every couple weeks that are just like, hey, if you got 10 minutes, you don't need any equipment. You can do this anywhere in the world. It takes,
See, I love that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's so
just move
helpful
your body,
because
just stretch, just do
yeah.
something. And then I have a blog on the website where I talk about everything, just whatever comes to mind. Every single entry is completely different. But then, yeah, like the job part of it, the thing that brings in money, I guess right now is the organization. And I do free consultations. I travel nationwide. So if it's not right in Nashville, I do FaceTime or Zooms where I do a consultation that way. But if it's local, I go to their home and I look at the house and, just kind of look at every space they might potentially want organized. And we set up a time for me to come do it. I ask that they're there. First of all, we make a very big mess. I'm like, look, the first 2 hours, we're just going to make a giant mess. We empty the closets, empty the pantry, empty the playroom, go through everything, decide.
It's almost like acknowledging it. Like if you make a big mess, you're acknowledging it.
Well, what is it? Like in AA, you have to admit you have a problem first.
Right, exactly.
Figure out the problem first before we can fix it. So yeah, we go through, whatever room I'm working on, the toys, the master closet, the pantry, whatever. And I'm like, can this go? Can this go? Is this being kept? What is it? And then once we've decided what they're going to keep.
Do you decide which room or where to start, or do they decide? Or is it like a mutual? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I offer 3 packages. You can get 1 space, 2 spaces, or an entire home. So the entire home is, I call it the whole shebang. It's like if you think you want 5 spaces, it's easier to just pay for the whole home. I come in, it's usually 2 full days. And we just work room by room. But then I have other clients who were like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty organized. Or maybe our kids are already out of the house, older, middle-aged people. They're like, hey, just come in and help us organize our garage, or our attic or our basement. Like I do that as well. And then, yeah, I organize it. And I tell them this is probably not what I should be saying to try to build my business. But I'm very transparent and very honest. And I tell my clients, I want to set this up to where you never need me to come back. There are many other organizational companies they could hire to come in that are going to rainbow color coordinate your books. But I'm like, unless you care about having your books rainbow color coordinated, I'm going to make them where all your history books are together, all of your kids' books. I want it to be conducive to helping your life be simpler and more minimal. And where you don't have to take 2 hours to locate the book you want or the cookbook you want or the pair of pants you want. It's going to make sense.
Right.
So I try to streamline it.
Do you have a framework that you use, or is it really an individual experience for each person depending on what they need?
It's an individual experience for each person. I have sort of a system that I go through and do depending on what space I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, some people say, hey, I want you to do my closet and I want everything color coordinated and hung by season. So tank tops together, sweaters together, and so forth. Other people are like, can you just separate my husband's clothes from my clothes? Like, So I work within what, my clients care about the most and what, how they want things done. But then within that, yes, I have a system of what I have found works for most people the best.
That's very cool. What's the craziest situation you walked into, and why was it crazy or messy, for lack of a better word? And you don't need to name names or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that it was a crazy situation, but right after I launched my business, I mean, like within 2 months, I had a lady who she and her family were moving out of the home, 5,000 or 6,000 square foot home they had lived in for 20 plus years, and were moving to Pennsylvania. They were moving completely out of state. And she hired me to come in and do the entire house. I'm talking from the 2-car garage to the storage room to the attic and everything in between. And
wow. Were they downsizing or just using this as an opportunity to purge?
Everything. We were packing up what she wanted to move because she said it's 20 years of stuff. I don't even know what's here. So it was a whole lot of purging, a whole lot of cleaning out, throwing things away that was just complete trash, and then donating a ton of items, selling higher end items or furniture. But then also organizing kind of as we went so that when she went to pack up, everything was already separated the way it needed to be. But yeah, it was just funny because I certainly wasn't going to tell her that I was brand new at this and was sort of learning as I was going. But it was one of my biggest projects for sure.
I bet Yeah, I bet hitting the ground with that project though, like set the stage for you to be like, okay, I can do this. I know what
Exactly.
I'm doing. I'm refining. Because if you went in and organized someone's closet on your first one, you probably would leave there with slightly more confidence than you walked in with. But
Sure.
tackling that huge project, I'm sure was a real great way to kickstart
A
your biz.
100,000%. Yeah. When it was all said and done, I was like, I can do this. This is not
Hmm.
that hard. I've got this. Like if I can do this thing, I can do
Right.
whatever else. Yeah.
Right.
It was definitely a great launching pad, but it was, in the moment I was sort of like, does she know that I'm brand new at this and I have no idea?
Oh my God. So I bet there was okay, so I don't know how to quantify this, but like in that situation, let's say with that project, how much did you donate or sell? Like half, one third of, or any way to quantify it? Because I'm always curious because you watch hoarders or you see these clips on on the news or something of a before and
Sure.
after, and you get the 30-second
Yeah.
clip of it or whatever, or I know you've got some before and afters on your Instagram too that are pretty cool, but it's like you don't ever get the context of like, no, this is half
Right.
of their stuff that was
Yeah.
accumulated over the last 20 years that is gone now. So
Yeah.
how much would you say it was in that situation if you had to guess?
It definitely varies, client by client. I definitely have had clients that it is a struggle to get rid of one bag of things. I've had other clients that are like, just burn the house down. I don't want any of it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's, talk about this because I'm sure there are going to
Right.
be some things that you miss when it's all said and done. So yeah, it's been a whole thing. But with that particular client, I mean, I don't even remember. I mean, I would say easily 20 of the giant, like what do you call them? Like
The lawn
contractor
bag.
bags, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
giant ones. Probably at least 20 of those, maybe even more. But yeah, one thing I tell my clients, because there's always a little bit of sticker shock, whether you
Mhm.
have a very tight budget or where there is no budget and you have all the money in the world. There's always a little bit of sticker shock when you're like, oh, I'm paying somebody to come and go through my stuff. Like, why am I paying you to do this? And I always tell them, for the most part, what my clients donate, there, because I provide tax deductible donation receipts. Number one,
Mhm.
so that there's transparency and they can see I'm not taking your stuff, I'm not keeping it, it is being
Right.
donated, and also where it's being donated, so that if in the future you want to take it yourself, you have connections of where to take things to. Um,
I love
but
that you set them up for success to like continue.
yes, again, that's at my heart. My heart is like, I want you to want to do this. Like
Hmm.
I want to change your mindset and I want you to start teaching your kids to give back and you give back. I want to again change the world.
Hmm.
So yeah, I try my best to make it as easy as possible, to make it as transparent as possible. So yeah, the majority of my clients, whatever package they purchase and whatever money they spend paying me to come and organize, their tax deductible receipts that they get are for at least that much money, if not more.
Right.
So I'm like, the
Right.
entire thing is a tax write off. Whether you
Yeah.
pay me $2,000 or $200, you're donating enough stuff that when you get your tax deductible receipts, you're going to be able to write off that much money. So
Mm.
it's really a win win for my clients when they are willing, to get rid of things.
Right.
Or,
How do you, aside from, teaching them, hey, here's where you can donate, what are some of the tactics that you share with your clients to not end up in the same spot in 2 years, 5 years, however long it is? Because I feel like there's like a mindset to that
for sure.
where you have to do more than just declutter or clean. Like you have to stop buying and consuming and
For
wanting and
sure. And that's the hardest. That's the hardest part.
yeah.
Anybody can get rid of items, but it's hard to retrain your brain to be like, wait, 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 you don't need that. Just because it's 50% off, that you're still paying
Mhm.
something.
Yep.
So it is sort of kind of, the rewiring of your brain and reteaching yourself how to think and how to move forward. Um, well, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Nope. Just like what are a handful of the tactics or one or two
Oh,
tactics
yes,
that you try
yes.
to leave them with? Yeah.
Yeah, so I always ask them, are you wanting to just jump into the deep end or are you wanting to sort of wade in the baby pool? It depends. So
Mm.
if they're wanting to just sort of try this out, I say try to edit to where, say we're in the winter right now. Let's
Mm.
try to take away a quarter of your sweaters, a quarter of your scarves, whatever it is. Let's just start with, say you have 20, let's try to get rid of 5. And
Okay.
then if that's easy and they do that, I'm like, okay, next year let's try to get rid of a little bit more. And if they're ready to jump into the deep end and they're like, hey, I'm sick of this, I need my life better, whatever. I'm like, you don't, how often a week do you do laundry? That's one of the first things I ask when I'm dealing with clothes. I'm like, how
Okay.
often a week, every week do you do laundry? Most people do laundry at least once a week at the very minimum.
Right.
So I'm like, you don't need more than seven of anything. Seven pairs of underwear, seven pants, seven shorts, seven long sleeve shirts, and so forth, because at the very least, you're going to do laundry once a week. So even if you
Hmm.
wear everything, you're going to have it all clean in 7 days. And that's, much.
People, that's
So,
like the simplest thing that we should be able to like calculate ourselves in our mind, but it's like something we don't think about.
no.
I mean, it's like I know that, but hearing you say that, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like I need to go clean out my closet, and I do. I clean out my closet twice a year and donate,
Right.
a bunch of clothes too. But now, I'm trying to be like, well, do I really need to go like buy new shirts every spring and every fall? The
Yeah.
reality is like, no, like I really don't. And I've cut my clothes in half because I track everything that I spend,
Yeah.
and so, but I feel like it is very easy to just kind of consume, and it's always right in front of us.
Well, and I also ask people, what's something you would love to do if you had the money, but you can't afford it
Mm.
right now? And for a lot of people, it's traveling. Whether it's, hey, we have kids and we want to go to Disney World, or hey, we don't have kids and we want to go on a month long cruise to Europe.
Mm.
There's always something you want to do that you don't have the money for. And I'm like, well, if you quit spending on things that you don't need, and then you take them, say you're online shopping and you find a shirt that's $20. If you tell
Mm.
yourself, I'm not going to buy this shirt, but I'm going to take the $20 I would have spent on this shirt and open up a separate account. Or if you're a cash person, take the $20 bill and put it in an envelope or in a certain space. I'm like, it's really that simple. If it's the need to spend, which some people have, that that addiction, I'm like, take the money, get the cash out of your, go withdraw it from the ATM if you need to tangibly hold that money, and put the money
Mm.
somewhere separate and mark it for whatever it is you're saving for, your
Right.
cruise or your trip or whatever. And for people, who are just trying to, again, have less, I'm like, you physically take the stuff. I promise you, when you start going into these organizations and you see the people that you're actually helping standing right in front of you, and it doesn't go through 10 different people before it gets into their hands, you're handing these people a clean toothbrush, or you're handing these people a clean pair of pants or a clean t-shirt, and you see the complete joy in their faces. I promise you, you're not going to want to go buy that sweatshirt that you already have 47 of.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. One thing, last thing I really wanted to ask you here is, I think it's so cool because when we were chatting a couple weeks ago, it is so like clear that this is authentically like who you are. Like you
yeah.
want to give back, you want to help the less fortunate, and it all comes from this amazing story. And then you actually want to help people live this simpler life. Like, how do you stay true to that, and how do you stay authentic to yourself? Because authenticity is super important to me, especially with the people that I interact with, or
Yeah.
even have on this show. Like, how do you stay true to yourself and authentic in a world that is throwing you need to buy this, you need to do this at you constantly, so that you can translate that into helping your clients?
Well, number one, I encourage my clients to do the same thing. But if you are going to shop, I'm like, shop small and shop local and shop consignment. I even have desires to buy new clothes sometimes. I try to focus my energy on women run consignment shops. I have a friend who does
Mm.
an online elevated closet sale through her website a couple times a year, where she gets influencers around Nashville and country music stars' wives and different, people like that to give clothes they don't want anymore, and she sells them at consignment prices. So I'm like, listen, if you want to
Oh,
go buy something new, there's nothing wrong with that, but help somebody else out. Put money in that person's pocket who's consigning their items. Help a small business. Especially, I try to focus on women run and women run
yeah.
founded businesses, but find a way to shop small. I'm probably a unicorn in this way, but I can count literally on two hands how many times ever I have ever placed an order on Amazon.com, like ever in my life.
Good for
It,
you.
it takes time for sure. And there are times where I'm like, oh, it would be easier to just order this Amazon. I don't have time to go to a store and stand in line. But, if you take the time to look around you and find the locally owned electronics store or the locally
Mm-hmm.
owned shoe store or consignment store. Like they're everywhere. They're on every street corner, and they're the ones
Mm-hmm.
struggling to survive and stay open, especially in COVID and post-COVID days. So
Right.
take the extra 30 minutes and go in their store and buy it
Yeah.
from them and help a small business instead of putting more money in these CEOs of these giant corporations.
I know. No, I
Really
mean,
sorry about
anyone,
that.
yeah, I know. And anyone who listens to this podcast or listens to me or follows me knows I feel the exact same way as
Yeah,
you. And I feel like, especially during COVID, these corporations took advantage of the mom and pop shops or
yeah,
the small businesses not being able to be open. And I
yeah,
remember like some of them tried to get creative to be like, hey, like shop through
yeah,
my Instagram and then come pick it up and I'll set it outside when you get there. And it's like, that is just a desperation play because you could also just, to your point, go to Amazon and have it sometimes within 4 hours.
yeah,
And I'm a guilty as sin Amazon user, but I definitely try to get out and support and local here in
yeah,
Chicago, especially because, they're the ones that every day is a hustle just to keep the lights on and just
definitely.
to make ends meet. And I feel like not just to help the community and to help small businesses and individuals, but also to help yourself, help the planet,
For
help
sure.
everything. Yeah.
I'm all about less waste, helping those less fortunate, but again, also helping the smaller businesses. My mom and dad both opened small and ran small businesses. So I'm a daughter of small business owners. And so it's always kind of been instilled in me. But,
Hmm.
even when it comes to going out to dinner, I don't even know the last time my husband and I ate at a chain. We just don't. We go
Yeah.
to the mom and pop restaurants or the local sports bars or whatever. I mean,
Hmm.
we always eat at small business, locally owned restaurants because yeah, they're the ones that are struggling. So again, regardless of what it is you're doing, if you're taking your kids somewhere or if you're having a date night or if you're doing something for yourself, like just seek out the small stores. And
Hmm.
um another thing for me personally, anytime I do get something new, I have to take something out of my closet. So like if I buy a new sweater, something has to go. So that's also
That's a
something.
very good tactic. And
Yeah,
um,
if I buy four things have to go.
great. I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
And the way that you not only help people declutter, that you help people get organized, that you teach them some of these tactics to stay organized, the fact that you do it all to give back to the community, I think is just a nice circle. So I appreciate what you're doing, and
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the way that you're impacting people's lives in a lot of ways, people you'll never even get to meet or see. So it's an admirable thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the point where I want to give you an opportunity if you have any questions you want to ask me, and maybe we start with I show you my closet. No, I'm just kidding. My closet's a mess right now, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
the
anytime
floor
you
is
want me to help
yours.
you organize, let me know. I'm happy. I'm happy to come. I love Chicago. So any excuse to come to Chicago is fine.
Heck yeah. I'm actually like I have gotten so much better with that over the years because I've realized like I don't like stuff. Like
Right.
there's stuff
Me
that
too.
I used to buy like DVDs and Blu-rays and like I have like hundreds and hundreds of them still because there's like an emotional attachment to them.
Right.
But I actually did box up my DVDs and one of these days I'm going to take them to the locally owned reseller
Yes,
and
we have
just
that
be
here
like,
too.
make me an offer for this box and it's
Yes.
yours.
Yes.
But
Well,
so yeah, the floor is
on
yours.
that note, I did want to mention that one more thing, if it's okay, if we have time.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
just after my dad passed away, he wasn't a hoarder by any means, but even just the few weeks it took my mom and sister and me to go through papers that he had saved and trophies and things from his past, I
Hmm.
just remember looking at my mom and saying, this is going to be my message to clients if this ever gets off the ground and if I ever launch this company. Like, don't do this to your kids. If for no other, especially like some of my older clients, I tell them, I'm like, the last thing that your children need to be doing when you die is go through days and days and days of stuff to find your will or to find the deed to your house or to find like your bank statement, like things that are important that you have to have before you can even start the process of
Mm.
closing out bank accounts, closing out whatever. I'm like, you would not believe the red tape we had to go through and it was my mom's husband. They were married. So there
Right.
wasn't this divorce or whatever. Like they were happily married when my dad died. And it was red tape after red tape after red tape just to
Right.
get accounts closed and things handled. So if that's one thing I could tell people, it's like, listen, do it for your kids if for no other reason. Simplify your life, have things organized, have things labeled, put the important documents in a safe place, and say, if anything ever happens to me, everything is right here. Write down your
All the
passwords
stuff
for
you need.
things, like
Yep.
all that. You have no idea how important it is.
That's also great advice. I think for anybody, because you also just never really know, right? Anything
No.
can happen at any
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
I think we've all learned that the last few years, if nothing
For
else.
sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything you want to ask me?
Yeah. So first, where have you been, like as far as traveling, that was maybe the most fun trip you ever took? And where is somewhere you have not been that you really want to go?
Oh, good questions. Nobody's asked me that
Yeah, because I
before,
love
which
this. I
is
mean, that's my
cool.
passion. I love traveling. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So I'll give you two answers to the first one. I have been very lucky, a lot through work, and the jobs that I've had to travel to places like Copenhagen, Denmark, Stockholm,
oh,
Sweden, actually even plenty of places in Sweden on the countryside. And,
cool.
I've been to England and Ireland, so I've been very lucky there. I love all of them. I absolutely fell in love with Croatia when I was there.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, I think that's a place that I was just shocked by its beauty and like the way that there are parts of it that just have been these little like pockets of things that have been untouched for thousands and thousands of years. And there's a lot of places in Europe like that. Another thing is Stockholm is beautiful. And since Sweden stayed out of the wars, they haven't been in a war in over like 100 years. They
Yeah.
have so much more um, like older structures and buildings because they
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
get destroyed in the world wars. So the fact
That's
that they have
amazing.
all these things where I can go see buildings that are like older than our country because they've
Wow.
been able to sort of avoid that. So to me, like that kind of stuff is so cool to just
Yeah.
see, to just experience, to just walk down a cobblestone road that's 500 years old and just up there.
Yeah. That would be
So
amazing.
I think I like that kind of travel. And then I have so many places I want to go. I think I really want to go to South America. I don't really have a
Yeah.
preference or idea right now where, but I really want to go to South America. And I also really want to go to Canada because I have not been to Canada. But of
Okay.
course, yeah, of course, you know, I kind of want to go to Australia. I want to go everywhere, but
Yeah.
I
Me too.
think there's just so many different places. What's your favorite place you've been to?
Oh, same. Like I've been very blessed both when I was in the music industry touring and, even after that, just with my husband or with my family and friends. Um, I think for sure Greece is probably my
Oh, that's
favorite.
another one.
We did a 10-day island hopping honeymoon when we got
Oh,
married. So we
oh,
went to Naxos, Santorini, and Mykonos, and it was magical. It was,
that's
I mean, I'm
awesome.
ready to go back. It was beautiful.
Oh my
I
gosh.
have been to Canada back. It was actually one of the first places we went when I was in the music industry on tour. We flew into Victoria, British Columbia, and did a 2-week tour all the way across all of Canada over to Toronto.
Oh
So
wow.
I've seen the whole like southern half of the country. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I have to get up there. I have to
Yeah.
try some of that. Where's next for you
Domestically,
two? Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. I was going to say, what's next for you and your husband?
Oh Lord. I don't even remember. We have stuff. We try to do something every single month. Sometimes it's just a quick 2-hour drive to Chattanooga because I have family there and we love just exploring and hiking around the city. But so sometimes it's something quick and easy like Chattanooga. Other times it's like we're going to California for 4 days in January. My husband's birthday's in January and we're going out there
Oh,
to Palm Springs. So we're excited about that. And then I'm trying to think. This summer, we're doing something that I've always wanted to do, and have never done. We're doing kind of like a road trip across a whole bunch of like national parks and stuff. So
oh, cool.
we're flying out to Montana and doing like Big Sky and Yellowstone, and then driving kind of through, I don't even know, the Grand Tetons and Mount Rushmore and just
Oh,
kind of
very
doing all of
cool.
that. So we're going to spend like 5 or 6 days doing that, and I'm excited about that. Um,
That'll
In
be fun.
February, we're going to Scottsdale with some friends, and we're going to drive up to the Grand Canyon. So yeah, just, domestic stuff too is cool. I mean, I love traveling internationally, but
Yeah,
we have some beautiful places in America as well. I love Napa Valley. Love anywhere that's warm. Like I love
I
Florida.
know. I'm like trying to figure out where the heck can I go that's a little warmer because it's getting cold here in Chicago, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta get some. I really like Texas too. I
I
love
was just gonna
Austin.
say, yeah. Have you ever
Yeah.
been to Austin?
To Austin? Yeah,
Yes.
I love
Love,
Austin. Austin's
love
like one of
Austin.
my favorite. If I wasn't going to live in Chicago, it would probably be living in Austin
Yeah,
because
I
I just feel
absolutely love
like Austin was picked up out of Chicago and just dropped in Texas,
it. Yeah,
which
it
is
does. It
cool.
has, yeah, it reminds me a
But it
lot.
has like the charm of Texas at
Hmm.
the same time, and the food and like all of that stuff. The Tex-Mex, I love all of
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I do too. I could eat Tex-Mex. Oh, it's so
So
good.
I know every day. Me too.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to ask me?
I mean, I feel like as a huge boy band fan, I have to ask you. It's really my only like Love is Blind question. Honestly, I don't really have any other questions about the show. How was Nick Lachey? Like, is Nick and Vanessa? Like, how are Nick and Vanessa? And do you have their numbers? And can you tell them I want to come organize for them?
I don't have their numbers. I might maybe slide in. I could maybe slide into their DMs. The thing with Nick and Vanessa, because there were so many like COVID protocols when we were filming, we
Yeah.
didn't get to interact with them as much as they would have liked.
Oh,
But every time that we did, they were the most genuine people that you could imagine.
yeah.
I've told this story somewhere before, but like even when we were filming at one point, my sister's a huge Nick Lachey 98 Degrees fan, like
Yeah.
huge. Like it was always like 98 Degrees posters and 98 Degrees
Same.
CDs and everything growing up. Yeah. And so when I told him that, he wanted to send her a video saying hi. So he like took my phone and just sent her like a nice video. And I just thought that
Oh,
was super cool because he could have easily, and I wouldn't have thought any less. I would have
yeah.
never thought of it. He was like, "Oh, that's great. Tell her I said hi." And
Right.
Vanessa came into the video too at the end to say hi, and I just thought
Um,
that was like a step further than they would have needed to
yeah.
go. And I wouldn't have thought anything of it if they was like, "Oh, that's great. Tell her I said hi."
Yeah.
And or even take a selfie, but instead he shot
Right.
a video, and I thought that was super cool. And my sister was over the moon about it.
I bet.
And then there was just another point, and this was really the first time I had any one-on-one conversation with Nick Lachey, and we just started talking about like football and the Bengals and the Bears and all that stuff, and it was just like talking to some friend or random person about football. 'Cause,
Right.
football really can bring people together, especially here in this country. Sports can in
Oh,
general,
yeah, for
and
sure.
so yeah, it was like that conversation. I was like, he's really just a normal guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very kind, very normal, and just genuine. I think genuinely good people.
I've gotten to meet him a couple of times. But it's different than I just assumed you guys spent a lot of time together during filming. So I thought you were around him a lot more. Mine were always very brief interactions. But yeah, he was super, super nice. Like
Yeah.
I agree. Very down to earth, very kind. Yeah.
I mean, he wiped dust off my jacket at one point. Where I
Yeah.
mean, so like that's the down to earth. Like he didn't have
Yeah.
to do that. He could have just told me, but he's like, come here. Like you got dust. You must have leaned up against a brick wall or
Oh.
something. So just very like, yeah, very like human, normal, down to earth,
Yeah.
authentic. Which we talked about a few minutes ago, and I really appreciate that about them.
Yeah, for sure. He came to Nashville on a tour when he had released his CD after the divorce, What's Left of Me, and
Oh yeah,
it happened
that's
to
my
fall.
favorite Nick Lachey song.
It's
Any
I
98
know
Degrees,
that whole
anything.
album is amazing, but yeah, that song is the best. But no, his concert ended up actually falling on my birthday, and I went to his concert with my sister and a friend, or no, it was my cousin. It was my cousin and my sister and I, and we just coincidentally happened to be walking by as he came out from sound check from the
Mhm.
building out to walk to his bus,
Oh,
and there were some
wow.
people lined up and were just screaming and like I want to say you. So his bodyguard came over and was like, no pictures at all, just
Right.
autographs. Got to keep this quick. So being at the time, I was still working in the music industry, and I was like, I know how this works. I was like, come here. So I went to the very end of the line and
Yep.
waited while everybody else was screaming and losing their minds. And he got to me and sort of like reached to sign something.
Mhm.
And I was I was unprepared. I had no idea I was going to see him. And I said, I don't have anything to sign, but it's my birthday. And I just wanted to see if I could get a quick picture. And his bodyguard was like, I said no pictures. And Nick was like, wait. He's like, and like, he kind of like, gently pushed the guy away. And he's like, wait, is it really your birthday? And I said, yeah. And I showed him my ID. And I said, it's really my birthday. I'm coming to the show tonight as like a birthday gift. I've always wanted to grab a picture. And he goes, come here. And I was the only person he took a picture with.
That sounds like what not surprising to me based on my
Yeah.
interaction. So that's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool to hear. I love that.
Yeah. That's
Cool.
to answer your question a minute ago about where we're going next. I can't believe I forgot. For our anniversary in May, we're going to Hawaii. So that's why I was saying I wanted to organize for Nick and Vanessa. I'm like, I'm going to be there. Like, I'm going to be in Oahu. So
You might as well. You might as well just slide into his DMs yourself.
You should.
Maybe it's my wedding anniversary.
I know.
What day is your wedding?
May 11th.
Oh, okay. My birthday's May 13th. That's why I was asking.
That's the day that my dad died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it was funny. We actually chose when we got married, because I said I'm always sad every year on May 13th. Like, it's the hardest day of my entire life. And so I was like, maybe it's morbid, but I want to get married close to it so that I have something to look forward to and be excited about. So it just so happened the year we got married, the 11th was on a Saturday. So we did that. So yeah. So I will never, ever forget your birthday.
Well, I'm sorry but I like the tactic of, I think it's smart to have something fun to be around that time too, like your wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. Where can people find you on social media and your website?
Yeah, my website is www.neatly-balanced.com. So there is a dash in the middle, and then on Instagram and Facebook, it's just Neatly Balanced, NEATLY Balanced.
Very cool. And those links will be in the show description for those of you who want to check it out as well. So thanks again for coming on, and I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Conversations with Nick Thompson. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow us and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Links can be found in the description below, and we can't wait to see you next time.